A lot of people with ADHD mention that they find it very difficult to start a task, and sometimes if that task, they can't understand why they can't get the task started, and it's really can cause us a lot of stress and strain to not really understand why we're paralyzed sometimes to not be able to start a task. We might have trouble beginning it, we might procrastinate for a long time before we can get to that job, we might get very distracted while we're doing it, and it can lead to quite a lot of issues for ourselves and others. So I came across an acronym that might help us to understand why we have trouble starting tasks, and the acronym is ICNU. It's ICNU, and if we ask ourselves, is the task interesting? I for interesting, C for challenging, N for novel, or U for urgent. And if the task is one of those things, we're probably going to be okay, but if it is none of those things, we may very well have trouble starting the task. I've tried to come up with a few ideas about how we might tackle that, and if the task is not interesting or challenging, there may be a few ways that we can help ourselves, almost fool ourselves into starting the task. We can try making it into a bit more of a fun thing, making it into a bit more of a competition or a game with ourselves or others. We can give ourselves rewards for having completed a task, which can be motivating for some people. I've found also that sometimes if I'm trying to do a task that's long and not very interesting, a Pomodoro can help. It's an app that gives you 25 minutes of work and then 5 minutes of rest, 25 minutes of work and 5 minutes of rest, and so on. And I find that can be a really useful way to help me focus on something that is not terribly engaging. And also I like to try and start a task using very small steps. So the task may seem huge and insurmountable, and I feel that I don't know where to start. So I'll do one very small thing to start getting that task going. It might be a small thing like writing an email. It might be having a chat with somebody to try and clear my mind and find a way forward. Just one very small step towards getting that task started. We might find that a bit of novelty might help us when we're trying to do some work or do a task that's maybe boring or repetitive. So sometimes I might buy a new bit of stationery or rearrange my workspace so that it gives me a sense of novelty and newness. You can buy little bits of storage or something just to help you along the way if you're having trouble with clutter, that kind of thing. So just bringing an element of novelty into a job that you have to do can really help you to get started with it. The other kind of tasks are the ones that are urgent. So if the job isn't urgent, we can often put it off until the very last minute when it does become urgent, and then that can be really difficult for us too, because it can cause us a lot of stress. So one of the things, I would say there's not really an easy answer to this. If a job is urgent, and saving it till the last minute, leaving it till the last minute can be very difficult indeed. But many people use things like setting their own deadlines and their own schedules, having to-do lists. Obviously, we all have lots of to-do lists and lists of any kind really, and calendars that can help us find a way to start tasks before they become urgent and before it's too late. So there's no easy answers, and it's good to experiment, find the things that help us individually, but it's helpful, I think, to know about the ICNU model: interesting, challenging, novel or urgent. If it's none of those things, then you probably know why you're stuck, and then you can try out different ways of being able to deal with it. It's kind of worked for me.